Good evening. At this time, please silence your cell phone and be advised that these proceedings are being recorded. For those physically present in the council chambers who desire to address the City Council during the meeting, please complete the request to speak form available at the front entrance of the council chambers and present it to the city clerk. Speaker physically present.
Recording in progress.
You don't want me to start over, do you? Okay. Via Zoom will be called upon at an appropriate time, and each person is allowed 3 minutes of speaking time. I'm going to go ahead and call this to order meeting, City Council meeting for Tuesday, October 24, 2023 at 6 p.m. And tonight we're going to close in memory of Grand Terrace resident Geraldine Barnett, also known as Jerry. She went to be with the Lord at the age of 84. She passed away October 4, 2023 at her home after a short illness. Jerry was born on June 15, 1939 to John and Martha Sherman in Orange County, Iowa. Jerry truly lived to be the fullest through the simple pleasures. She's enjoyed spending time with her family and friends. She enjoyed traveling, crafting, knitting, crossword puzzles, and reading in her spare time. She was also actively involved in the Colton Women's Club. Her family paid this tribute to her. Jerry was one of the kindest persons you ever meet. She opened her heart and her home to many over the years, and she will be sorely missed. Jerry is perceived by her sister, and she is survived by her husband, Ron, and 3 children, Lisa, Kevin, and Sandy, and her 3 grandchildren, along with 4 great-grandchildren. So God bless her and her family. The prayers are with you. And during this time of comfort, we could turn to the Lord for peace. So they'll be closing in honor of Geraldine Barnett. So the invocation will be given by Pastor Marcelo de la Barrera. Is that what you said? Close. From Living Word in the Inland Empire. And then Pledge of Allegiance be given by the Mayor Pro Tem. So please rise and join me in the invocation and Pledge Allegiance.
Okay, thank you for standing. Father, we just come before you right now, my Lord, in the mighty name of Jesus. We thank you for this meeting tonight, Father, for our city council, Father, for our mayor. Father, we pray, God, that you use them tonight, Father, to strategize for the city, Father, for the people. We pray, God, that you just guide them, Lord, for their families, for the big plan that you have for this city, Lord. We lift it up to you in prayer. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. We will have a AB 2449 closure. Madam City Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Allen.
I'm here.
Councilmember Henderson.
Present.
Councilmember Rodriguez-Robles.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilson.
I am here.
Mayor Hussey.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Item A, recording and additionals and removal items from the agenda. Do we have any?
Our group for the presentation is not here yet. If we can push them to when they get here later in the
Okay.
event, that would be great. Thank you.
We'll push item C when they arrive. Okay, so we'll go to item B, public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on any items not appearing on the regular agenda because of restrictions contained in California law, and the City Council may not discuss or act on any items on the agenda, but may briefly respond to statements made or ask questions for clarifications. The mayor may also request brief response from the staff. Questions rise during the public comment or any requests in the matter agendized for future meetings. Do we have any public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
So you have me read all that? Okay, so item C, we're waiting for the special presentation. So item D, consent calendar. The following consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They'll be acted upon the City Council at any one time without discussion. Any council member, staff member, or citizens may request removal of any item of consent calendar. So is there any public comment for consent calendars?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Is there any removal from any items from consent calendar? That'd be the same as the other one. Okay, do I have a motion for the consent calendar?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Councilman Robles, second by Councilman Allen. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item E, public hearings. F, unfinished business. Item G, city council discussion on new business. Consider renaming the city of Grand Terrace Dog Park to Ann Wade Horsby Dog Park. So, city manager, all yours.
There was a future agenda item brought forward to rename the dog park by Councilmember Allen, and I think he's better situated than I am to explain why and the merits of renaming that. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, let me turn this on. I did request that we consider the renaming of the dog park for Ann Wade Hornsby. Ann Wade Hornsby is a longtime Grand Terrace resident and was a career teacher in the Colton School District. And she was also very active, loved Grand Terrace very much, and was very active in her community in issues that she deemed, important for the community. She was an avid petition signature gatherer for various initiatives throughout the years that came before the council. And she was also one of the driving forces, I believe, if I remember correctly, whenever this whole thing about getting a dog park going. She and her husband Chuck were some of the driving force in it that initiated that whole idea, and then they stayed active and involved in the discussions of the planning, and throughout the years she's always stayed involved with the she would engage with me routinely about the dog park and commenting on how nice the city had made the dog park and offering suggestions and ways to keep it that way and improve it. They had dogs themselves and used the dog park avidly, and so I think that this is an opportunity for, we have various parks throughout the city that are named for individuals that were the individuals from our residents from our community who are somehow associated with that feature, that park, or that whatever item that or they're named after, and I believe that this is an opportunity for us to recognize a resident who is closely associated with the establishment of the park. And I know everything's a team effort. Nothing really gets done in our world today. Working alone. And she was certainly a team player. But I just think this is an opportunity for us to recognize someone worthy of that for this park itself. And if you have any questions about it or want to discuss it, that's fine.
Council have any questions? Ken, Sylvia? No? I have one question, and you did say that she was one of many. Have we had any other people come up and say they wanted to have the park named after the individuals?
Not to me, Mayor, and you could ask city manager or the city clerk or if they've had
Nobody?
any correspondence on this. This item's been on and off the agenda now for several times a month, so I don't know, has there been any communication from the public on this item?
There's been no comment either for or against from the public.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have a question? right.
Mr. Henderson, Councilmember Henderson.
Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Allen, for bringing this forward. I'm supportive of the recommendation by Councilmember Allen. My only comment would be that City Council maybe formalize a process for naming city parks and monuments and buildings and things of that sort so that the general public is made aware of the opportunity And at some point, either a designated council committee or the council itself could select from competing recommendations. But with respect to the item on tonight's agenda, I'm supportive of naming it after the person identified. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Okay, yeah, I want to thank you, Councilmember Henderson, for your support on this, and I just want to make sure if there is a resolution, 2015-30, and it's included in here, where that was signed by the City Council in 2015 on the policies and procedures for the naming of city-owned land, buildings, and facilities, and then there's the policy follows after that. Exhibit A on packet page 166. So if there's something more that we could do, I'm certain that you feel like, other than what our policy shows here, I'm certainly supportive of that also. But I just wanted to let you know that we do have one in place.
Any other questions before we go to deliberation? No? Is there any public comment on this?
No, Mr. Mayor.
So council, bring it back to council for deliberation. Councilman Robles?
The concern I have with naming things after people is that we really just have two parks, and even the Richard Rollins Park is joint use. A lot of the other things that are named after people, they were land endowments that the family member named after members of their family. So there wasn't something. So I was involved with the dog park thing, and it was brought forward by the foundation, and there was a lot of people that wrapped gifts and every Christmas and had some other kinds of fundraisers. And my concern is that when we start naming an effort that's a community effort, and we just single out one person, it kind of, to me, diminishes the efforts of all the other folks. So, and I failed to read, because I thought we did have a guide, but I didn't realize it was back here. So that's just my concern. And then, this is the only thing that didn't have other than Veterans Park, a person's name. So what do we do if other people start passing away? Because there was one of the mayors that people came about 2-3 years ago. And so we said, well, we're supposed to have some development. We'll use a street. I can't remember the mayor's name. He had a German-born wife. I can't remember his name. But that's just my concern. I just don't want to diminish the community efforts of other people that really worked hard on this.
Thanks, and thanks a lot, Councilmember Robles, for that, because that was also my concern. I know that, like I said in my earlier statement, nothing really gets done by anyone alone. Everything really, success comes from a team effort. And our other parks and places that we have names, I know that some of them are named after people whose families did make an endowment or a monetary contribution to the improvements of the park. And some of the other parks we have are just named for people who are, for example, Richard Rollins Park. Mr. Rollins was very dedicated in having that park and in taking care of it after it was established and being a go-to person for it, to the best of my understanding. And yet, there are, if you walk over into Rollins Park and then walk around the sidewalk, you will see that there's a stretch of that sidewalk that has many names in it, of many people who contributed to the establishment of that park, many family names and that sort of thing. I would not have suggested naming just anything after Ann Wade Hornsby. The dog park she was closely associated with it, along with, like you said, there were a lot of people, and and it didn't have a name yet, you know, and so I just, you know, after 5 years of having a dog park with no name, I thought that this would be a fitting combination of someone who supported it, and we would get a name on it. I don't know all of the team members, but, you know, I just know that that's the one that I remember being the most active over the years.
City Attorney?
Yes, Mayor and Council, if I could point you to page 167, packet page 167. Want to point out a few points. Number one, if you take a look at number 3, it provides that the naming of city-owned land, buildings, and facilities in honor of a deceased person shall generally not take place until after a minimum of 1 year waiting period unless the city council determines that there are overriding considerations deviating from this policy guideline. And you'll see 2 sentences later, it is felt appropriate to establish some type of waiting period to ensure that an individual's accomplishments or contributions will stand the test of time and that a decision shall not be made on an emotional basis immediately following a person's death. I note that because, again, I noticed in the staff report, you know, the person passed away a few months ago in May. So want to point that out. Second point is, if we look at section 4 later on that page, it talks about a procedure prior to naming. And it's not, again, I wasn't around when this policy was created, but it seems to suggest that when there is a request to be made, there is a process that it goes to. It goes to a subcommittee called the Facility Naming Committee, and they have an opportunity to review it for 30 days and then come back with a formal recommendation. Again, I'm not sure if that was intended for requests by members of the public or requests by members of the council, but again, I just want to point that out to the mayor and the council's attention.
So it sounds to me, Mr. Mayor, like maybe I'm ahead of the ballgame. Am I too early on this then?
Well, per the policy, yes, unless the council can make overriding considerations that this situation is appropriate to deviate from the policy.
Well, I'm not requesting the council to do that. I don't mind following council procedures, and then, you know, unless the council wants to do that, but.
Councilor Robles, you had a...
Yeah, because had a hand in this, and it was to, you know, again, because, like, I guess Don Laughlin of Laughlin died. And so people are over there, well, we should name something after him. And it went right over my head. And then said, we should name this bridge Laughlin Bridge. And then I thought about it, the city's named Laughlin. But it was kind of, because the emotions of when somebody passes away are very fresh, and people are you want to do something. So that's why I had put, you know, about putting it to a committee so that we're not just here, you know, doing something without really venting it. Now, Mr. Rollins, you know, I've lived here since 1977. He opened the park and closed it every day. So, you know, that was really a big service to the community. But I didn't realize these were there because it asked for staff direction. And I had said at the other meeting, we have a policy if somebody could dig it up. So I didn't expect to see anything back here. But I think, you know, did we ever consolidate our park and other cultural resources or committee?
No, we did not.
It seems like if we could do maybe a combined meeting of them to deal with this issue for us.
Whatever the council's pleasure
Okay.
is, yeah.
So then I think that let me ask the attorney, would the correct procedure be to table this until a later date, or, because I don't want it to die.
Sure. You have
What's
two
the-
options. I mean,
okay.
we can take a vote or get some direction tonight whether the council wants to deviate from the 1-year period. If the council says, no, let's stay with the policy and provide a 1-year period, then I would suggest that the council give direction to bring this back in May or June of 2024 after the 1-year period is passed. And if, again, then the next question is, do you want to direct this to the facility naming committee, a subcommittee, as part of that? So direct it to the subcommittee and have them bring it back in sometime in May or June of next year.
Do we even have one of those?
Well, this is what, when myself and Councilmember Robles, when we did the Veterans Freedom Park, we had a subcommittee. And it was brought up, there was, I can't remember the gentleman's name either, but they wanted to name the park after him, but he wasn't, he was passed away like 2 weeks prior. So we did the subcommittee, and then we had a gathering of 3 names, and we voted on the 3 names, and that's when Jim Miller came up with the Veterans Freedom Park. And but it seemed like there was more of a community involvement to be placed in there. And just like, nothing saying against, Ann here, I'm sure she did a lot of work. It was a joint committee that did a lot of work. I remember, I think they said they had like $12,000 that they raised, and that park cost us $250,000. So if it wasn't for the city's help, they'll still be selling stuff on there. But it was brought to the attention to the city and to the community. But I think, like Councilmember Robles said, our Parks and Recreation, they need to be a strong input on this, and, just develop a subcommittee and come up with names and table this. Not saying not to give Ann the full benefit for all the work that she did, but there's also other people out there and see, and, you get the other people that group, and they'll probably want Ann there. So I think we do need to table this and bring it to a subcommittee and move forward on it.
Do we have a subcommittee, or do we need to form one, or do you want to make the Parks and Rec folks?
Whatever, if you want to be part of the subcommittee, another council member with the Park and Recs, or you guys just want to do Parks and Recs, come up with it.
Yeah, just let the Parks and Rec deal with it. The other thing too, so I don't think we're tabling it. What we're doing is providing staff direction. But the other thing too is, people were buying benches for the dog park, and I wouldn't mind us paying for a bench with Ann's name on it and honor her that way.
Mr. Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would be supportive of referring this matter to the Park and Rec Committee, and Mr. City Manager and his staff can make the appropriate presentation to the committee. Mr. Allen can provide his input as appropriate to the committee, and request a report back from the committee at a specific date and time, so we know when it's coming back to the City Council. Councilmember Robles is correct in terms of a number of people providing financial assistance to the park. I know my wife and I have a plaque out there, and as do many other Grand Terrace citizens. So I think the Park and Rec Committee would be the appropriate forum to receive input from the community, hear from Mr. Allen as to why he's nominating Ms. Wade Hornsby, and report back to the council as appropriate.
If that's a motion, I'll make a second.
That's my motion.
We have a motion second. City Attorney, you have anything to add to that?
The only questions I would ask are, 1, who will make up the subcommittee? And number 2, when would you like them to report back? Recognizing that if we're going to stay with the 1 year, we're looking at May of 2024 for the final action. So they can report back earlier, but to stay consistent with the policy, we would not do the formal naming until May or June of next year.
We have a standing Park and Rec Committee.
Okay. Okay.
You want to use them as the facility naming committee then? Or a portion of that?
For park and recreation facilities, yes.
Okay.
And when would you like to bring this back to start this?
How about February?
February or would
February?
be fine.
That sound good?
Mhm.
So we have a motion by Councilman Henderson for the Parks and Rec Subcommittee to bring the item back in February of 2024, and a second by Mayor Pro Tem, correct?
That's
Correct.
correct.
I will note, again, for the record, but again, I think in this case it works. The policy says the subcommittee shall meet within 30 days of receiving a name request and return to the city council with a recommendation. So I think in this case, if the requester is comfortable with that timeline, I think we're good to go.
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
All right, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, do we want to do our special presentation now as a gentleman here?
We can go ahead with that. Are you ready?
All right, sir, if you could introduce yourself and welcome to Grand Terrace Council Chamber.
Very good. Good evening, honorable members of the City Council. Your Honor, it's a great delight to be here in a wonderful city in our region. I send greetings on behalf of Howard Choi, who could not be here with us tonight, but I wanted to certainly cover this issue and this topic before us. This is the Community Choice Energy Aggregation, and for a point of reference, this is a receive and file presentation only. It's not no action required. This is information gathering. Next slide, or shall I just do it myself? On the arrow? Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you very much. Very simply put, in 2001, 2002, state legislation afforded municipalities the ability to create their own municipal electric utility. As you can see on the chart there, the CCE replaces the investor-owned utility, oftenly called in the energy business as independent operating units, or in our case, Southern California Edison. So take your favorite electric company, whether it's PG&E, Southern California Edison, or San Diego Gas and Electric. This now has the potential to replace Edison. The utility still is responsible for the wires and transmission, as you can see there. So for instance, if a drunk driver were to hit a power pole or a transformer, or a bird somehow mysteriously or got caught in the wires, then Edison would be responsible for the maintenance thereof. There's no additional personnel required from the city of Grand Terrace. Again, to emphasize, Edison would maintain and operate the lines, so that's the beauty of this. The procurement purchasing contract would be the administrative function and task of the city of Grand Terrace, should they desire. Next slide. So the utilities simply remit payment. The CCEs typically buy more renewable power at the discretion and command and direction of the mayor and council. CCEs have greater regulatory flexibility. They're much more nimble, flexible, and they pivot quicker for the ratepayer, which would be the constituents of the city of Grand Terrace, or in the case of a JPA, formation powers. Now, remember, we're not talking JPA formation tonight. We're simply providing information on the global view and aspects of the community choice energy aggregation. CCEs continue to receive customer revenues from the utility agency, so it's a remittance of payment, and the city of Grand Terrace would then collect that. And so CCEs continue to work with Edison to develop reliable electric grids in their own communities. The beauty of this is that many of your constituents in the city of Grand Terrace, including businesses and industry, probably will never know the difference. There is a opt-out provision, but categorically, the CCEs are opt-in. So most on the formation process, most of the residents and customers and constituents of yours would be opted in. There's an opt-in proviso. We can get into that a little bit later. Next slide. As you can see from the chart, this is the state of California, if you can't see it from there. But as you can see, this was a coastal, remember this is in its infancy 23 years ago. Many of the coastal communities actually bought on to CCEs early on. And so a lot of the global climate action plans, renewable energy plans, what have you, throughout the county and throughout the state. And so I serve as Vice President of Government Affairs for our agency. And up and down the coast, you'll see that there are interior donut holes. I am working very aggressively and feverishly to identify those interior donut holes. And of course, the Inland Empire is one of those donut holes. We have identified 6 interior donut holes And remember that in 2012, so 2001, 2002, legislation created it. 2012, 2013, there was a clarifier mandating that Edison would then participate, and they cannot object to your participation. Next slide. This is the money slide. Many of our elected officials, as a former elected official, I was very interested in seeing the net revenues and net positions to our city. What interests me the most, and I think what would amuse our most of the elected officials in the county, is that this is a revenue generator. As you can see, the column on the left, it describes the most powerful CCAs throughout the state that were available in our survey. The coverage is the second column, and the net position, the third column, financial report end date. So these are very recent reports, and these are the second to the last column is the year of initial operations, and the customer base is on the final column. You can see that a large survey of CCAs, there are 25 CCAs up and down the state. This is a sampling of them that was readily available through public disclosure and documents. This is our number crunching, but this is what they reported out. Marin Clean Energy provided $203 million in net position revenue. And this includes some of those coastal communities. Finally, Orange County Power Authority, which is the last row on this spreadsheet, you'll see that in its infancy, it again only started last year, and it had $41 million in its net position. So the money is there. If we were to follow the bouncing ball or really follow the money, this proves the integrity, the feasibility, and the net capacity to increase the bottom line. Next slide. One of the beauties of the community choice energy aggregation is the ability for local elected officials to structure programs commensurate with the needs of their community. That's what I enjoy most about this. For instance, Clean Power Alliance, which you see on the far left, provides various community programs to whether industry, businesses, or industry specific, or even disadvantaged communities, virtual power plants, EV rebates, 0% loan programs, and the list goes on. You see on the right, San Jose Clean Energy, another powerhouse on the northern portion of the state, has also crafted, the next slide, multiple community programs based upon the needs of their respective communities. Next slide. So again, this is, we're very appreciative, Mayor Hussey, for your ability to invite us tonight. We appreciate your cordial invitation to present to the council. Our team is working throughout the Inland Empire, as I had mentioned, throughout the state. We are very aggressive in reaching those interior donut holes in the portions throughout, and of course, the Inland Empire. We're asking multiple cities in the Inland Empire to consider formation of a JPA. The nice thing with the JPA is that it would indemnify or prevent a firewall between the city's general fund operations and its net dollars, and the creation of a JPA would certainly create that firewall and indemnify Grand Terrace's general fund. So it'd be the ability to create a JPA with other cities and create the JPA. So that's a nice thing. We're asking cities of interest in exploring a CCA through the RFQ process with multiple other cities. An RFQ seeks a consultant partner to continue guiding cities about the nuances of the CCA. This is a very abstract and complex juggernaut. It's not simple. We understand that. And we are here to provide additional information, supplement to the direction of the council and your advisement. With that, we'll open up to questions, sir.
Thank you for your presentation. Does the council have any questions? Councilman Allen?
So thank you for the presentation. So if I understand this right, this is basically a revenue opportunity for the city, a new revenue stream.
That's right.
Yeah, and so, but for us to find out, there needs to be an investigation.
Correct.
So What does the investigation determine? And will that investigation cost us any money?
Okay, very good question. As I had alluded to previously, this is simply a receive and file, and we are not asking JPA formation now, so baby steps. What we're simply asking is the consideration of the council, at the pleasure of the council, to say, yes, we are interested in next steps. This is all information. This is all research. This is all number crunching and assessment. You're not making a decision to form the JPA tonight. You're simply asking, this seems interesting. We'd like more information. I've had other council members in various other cities say, we welcome information. We want more information. And yes, we can't make that decision tonight. But what we would like to do is seek and gather more information. I think at the end of the day, information is helpful, and that's what we do, is to provide that feasibility study. The feasibility study, to Councilman Allen's position, is very simple. It's number crunching, it's data analytics. And so it would be the city of Grand Terrace either jumping and piggybacking with another city. We have other cities that have expressed a lead interest. So it's as simple as placing the name of Grand Terrace on that RFQ feasibility process, and we would crunch numbers and report back to the city administrator, the city manager, at the pleasure and direction of the mayor and council. The cost would be, we have made a commitment to cities, and it would be zero.
And is there a possibility that Grand Terrace would not be a feasible project for Grand Terrace? And if so, you'd tell us that. Or
That's a great question. We believe in scales, economy of scales. The city of Grand Terrace is about 15,000 people, according to your latest census data. In our analytics, we have suggested that there is economy of scales. And in average, if you go back to slide number, if you would please, number 4, many of the, I'm sorry, 5, if you would please, thank you. Many of these cities, as you notice on the far right column, many of them are significantly, Orange County Power Authority has 250,000 customers. There are small cities that do it, but you can do it with other cities. The recommendation would come through the feasibility study. Ultimately, we would crunch those numbers and make that assessment, and we would give you an up or down and say, City of Grand Terrace, you ought to join others, or you can or cannot do it on your own.
What other cities in the Inland Empire are you proposing a similar approach?
Good evening, Councilman Henderson. It's a delight to see you, sir. We are approaching various other cities on the west end of the county. Just yesterday, we had a meeting with the city of Redlands. Mayor Tejada expressed extreme pleasure and interest in this and wants additional information. Just this afternoon, I've been all over the county, but city of Moreno Valley in the adjoining county, well, it's not our county, he has expressed follow-up information on greenfield utility integration with the CCA concept. So multiple cities on the west end, high desert cities, and surrounding cities to Grand Terrace.
So with respect to feasibility, as it relates to Grand Terrace, is it possible that the feasibility would be based upon other Inland Empire participants as opposed to Grand Terrace by itself?
So the feasibility study could be as little as 100 pages to 250 pages. I reference Orange County Power Authority. Our firm created the feasibility study for the city of Irvine, Fullerton, Huntington Beach, and Buena Park. Our firm did the number crunching and the feasibility study, and it totaled over 200 pages. Within the feasibility is a complete analytics portion to it, but there would be carve-out appendix points where you would see Grand Terrace unique in this entire feasibility study.
So at least in theory, Grand Terrace could go it alone or be part of a larger JPA operation?
I don't want to misspeak or misrepresent. I think the feasibility study would determine what next steps that the city of Grand Terrace might benefit.
Councilman Robles.
I was just noticing the city of Pico Rivera.
Yeah.
It shows a population of 17,000. And they're on their own?
They're on their own.
Okay. I found that interesting.
Some cities, to your point, Councilmember Robles, it's good evening to you. Some cities are very risky. They understand the risk, they mitigate those risks, but they rely on experts to guide them through that process. One question that has not been addressed tonight, I alluded to it a little bit earlier in my presentation. This does not require additional FTEs here from the city of Grand Terrace. I understand, I saw your budget earlier. Many of your departments are contract driven. Great. And this could be probably done with a half TE if necessary. If joined with the JPA at a larger scale, there would be no personnel cost here for the city of Grand Terrace. In other words, you wouldn't need additional linemen or new personnel or new equipment if you were to join a JPA, because those costs, again, would be borne by Edison as they maintain power lines, transmission lines, et cetera.
Any other questions?
So the benefit of this is revenue enhancement, and is there, secondly, any drivers such as better customer delivery of services?
So revenues, yeah, I mean, as you can see from the net positions, they are determined to be specific use. So you can't simply just spend them on striping asphalt. So there is specific use on it. However, it is a revenue benefit to any JPA. Many of these cities, to your point, council member, many of them have customized programs for their disadvantaged low-income folks, as well as, and Mayor, this might interest your council a little bit more. As a former mayor, I love this because I can now attract new industry-specific, new job creations, new hotels. I can only have one Toyota dealership in San Bernardino. Arguably, I can't invite Longo Toyota, right? But I can invite other dealerships, and I can custom tailor make these industry-specific via and the format through economic incentives through the CCA. So now I can create, let's say, the Airport Gateway Specific Plan, which I was President Chairman of the Airport Authority Board. And now we can create that, using that as a hypothetical model. You can now create new incentives to attract new industry specifics in that 700-acre parcel of land. So this is very unique. It's at the discretion of the council, the mayor and council, and the formation and the board members of the JPA. So to answer your question, council member, yes, you can customize programs tailor-made for Grand Terrace or the region to attract new types of industry or job-specific growth accelerators.
As while you're speaking, we have Rule 22 funds that.
Underground, yep.
Could we roll that money into a JPA?
Excellent question. Many municipalities want undergrounding. I was just at City of Chino Hills yesterday, and they won the landmark opportunity years ago on undergrounding. But you can, in essence, create capital improvement plans. I mean, speak with your city manager and public works director, but you can certainly create capital energy improvement plans that are specific through your JPA or your city. So it allows that flexibility. Again, the discretion now is at the council level, right? It's at the board of directors, whether it's a JPA formed throughout the region, okay, great. Or if it's a council-driven, mayor-driven issue here at the city, you have those discretions.
The final thing, so one of the, from special districts background, you could create independent special district with us as a board of governors, with the governing board. It'd be like in Fontana, their fire services are provided by the county, but they created a subsidiary district, so they're the governing board of it instead of the board supervisors.
So the statute on this regarding the formation of a CCA identifies within the powers and prerogatives of the formation from the State House is that it has to be a recognized municipal government in the state of California. Now, there are 482 cities in the state of California. Now, there are quasi government agencies, but the state has provisos that clearly identify what a jurisdiction or a local jurisdiction is. So I probably refer to your city attorney offline eventually to research that matter, whether it's a special district formation or through the JPA.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Henderson?
I have a question for the city attorney or the city manager as appropriate. Assuming, since this is a receive and file matter, and assuming a majority of the council would like to receive additional information and at least receive some information regarding the technical feasibility, is that something that we can act on tonight, or we need to bring back an item at a future agenda?
Since this is listed as a presentation, you can, following the presentation, direct us to bring it back, or you can wait to the future agenda item, which now allows for flexibility, and you can raise it at that point in time as well.
Councilor Allen?
Based on Councilmember Henderson's question, and my understanding is that there needs this, for us to get more, because I also would like to have a little bit more technical in-depth information about
absolutely.
this.
Sure.
Would that require us to be a part of this you call it an investigation, I guess, or
A feasibility
a
study,
feasibility study?
Yep.
Yeah.
If we could please go to the last slide, staff. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, second to last. My apologies. So if it's the pleasure of the mayor and council, by direction to your city manager, it would be at the pleasure of the council simply to say, yes, we don't object to being listed as part of a feasibility study. We have other city partners that are well on their way to create that feasibility study. It's as simple as that. I certainly don't want to cross the line with our city attorney, but it's at the pleasure and discretion of saying, I don't know what the policy are here in the city of Grand Terrace, but to be listed on a feasibility study at no cost, this is information gathering. So this is no cost to the city. Be simply directing your city manager to talk with that other city administrator and saying, yes, put Grand Terrace on the list. We want our numbers crunched as well.
So, Mr. City Attorney, can we provide such direction to the city manager?
Yes, you may.
Any other questions?
If you're making a motion, I'll second it on that, if that's what it's required,
That would be my motion.
to provide direction to the city manager to go, to request to be a part of the feasibility study. I'll second it.
Whoa, no,
Or-
to bring it back for discussion.
Oh, okay, to bring it back for
Yeah,
discussion.
to provide more information, and then the council can make a decision at that point in time.
Correct. It's important that the council
okay.
receive input,
Yes.
direct input from the city manager on the entire topic and on any suggested feasibility analysis that might come forward.
We agree upon that?
I do.
I have one question, though, for you, John. All this, is there going to be any impact for the consumer out there? Is it higher rates or anything, or they're just going to?
Mayor, excellent question. Let's talk money. Constituents have seen a very sharp decrease.
Okay.
And so you can quantify that through the PowerPoint presentation, slide number 5. Again, it's at the discretion of the board of directors, whether the JPA decides we want to cut costs here or there, they can do that. They don't have a high overhead. There's not exorbitant amount fees paid to executives. That's the beauty of this, is that the discretion at the local level, you can buy power much cheaper. alternative fuels, however the composition that you want your mix. But there is incentives, there's a lot to gain from this, and the constituent would certainly benefit. Now,
Right.
I can't go on record to quantify as to how much here now, but I can say that there is potential decrease.
All right, great, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So you turn anything else before we vote?
Nope, this is just a direction to bring it back for the
In the
discussion.
direction to bring it back, so please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you, Your Honor.
information.
Thank you, thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, so future agenda items, I guess we just did one. At this time, the city council may purpose of item discussion, any action to future duly agenda items for the city council meeting. Consensus, the majority of the quorum is required to place an item on the future agenda. Do we have any other requests for future agenda items you guys can think of? None? All right, we'll go ahead and close that. City council communication, Councilman Ken Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been absent from the last two council meetings, battling a bout with COVID that I contracted apparently at the League of Cities Conference in Sacramento, attended by Councilmember Allen and myself. And I gave it to my wife before I realized I even had it, and it's been a difficult time, but I'm happy to be back. Did attend the League Conference. I'm sure that you heard from Councilmember Allen and the city manager regarding that conference. Long and short of it, I think the conference in general left a lot to be desired, although there were individual sessions that were of beneficial to the city of Grand Terrace and to other participants as well. There is, I believe, some significant momentum from league members addressing the presenters and the topics covered for the future that hopefully will be reflected in the 2024 conferences conducted by the league. Returning home, I attended a couple of grand openings, one for Starbucks, one for GameStop. I want to commend the city manager and staff on making those projects happen. And just this past week, with Mr. Allen and the mayor, attended Chamber Mixer. That was well attended by chamber members at Guns and Ammo, our local business here in Grand Terrace. Last week, the city council of the city of San Bernardino conducted its council meeting, and during the course of the council meeting, heard from a member of the public under public comments, and that person was interrupted by a Zoom caller that involved racial slurs and other negative and hateful comments to the public speaker. And so I asked our city clerk to address that item. I believe the procedures that we have in place prevent that from occurring. And so without further ado, Deborah, if you could address that topic. Thank you.
Oh, certainly. We allow members of the public to participate via Zoom audio only. We do not allow video. When a member of the public calls in, they are placed in the waiting room, and they are not allowed into the meeting until public comment or the particular agenda item that they may want to speak on. When they are finished, they are placed back into the waiting room where they can decide to stay, or they can come back in for another item. When a member of the public is speaking, I am monitoring the screen to make sure that I know who the phone number is that has called in. So if in the event there were any derogatory comments being made, they would be immediately muted and removed from the meeting.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. That concludes my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Henderson. Councilman Allen?
Thank you, Mayor. So I too was taken ill, not with COVID, but I was down and out for a few days, and I did miss the Solid Waste Advisory Task Force Committee meeting that I'm a part of for the San Bernardino County, but I was able to secure the presentations that were given during that meeting, which I've had the city clerk print out and distribute to each of you. I would encourage each of you to go peruse through them. They have to do with the SB 1383 and SB 54, which are the edible food recovery update, the program update, and also the plastic pollution prevention and packaging law. And what's important about these for us is that the enforcement is coming into play next year on these Senate bills. And, the great thing about SB 54 is even though we have to, the jurisdiction, I know we contract with a waste hauler, and our waste hauler is the one we rely on to manage these programs. I believe that's how my understanding is that Burtec has guaranteed us that they've got this under control. And I would encourage us to have a presentation maybe in the not too distant future to see how well they do have it under control and how well they do have a plan in place, because as these brochures will tell you, there will be enforcement actions in place all the way down at the residential level, and our residents deserve, to know what's going on and how they can not be ticketed. And also we have these requirements to do or have a needs assessments done on our plastic pollution prevention and packaging. Now this is something that the manufacturers, the state is throwing the cost of this back on the manufacturers of the plastic products, the single-use packaging items, which they're trying to do away with, but the state needs the needs assessments done by us to tell them how much it's costing before we can get the reimbursement. And so that's why I encourage you to look through these. The one you see right here that's labeled Smart Contamination, also, did AJ get that YouTube video? Okay, it shows in here some slides of common contaminated cans and how the county intends to do the enforcement actions. And also the last packet that's labeled 1383 Edible Food Recovery Update. So, there's two programs, the Tier 1 and Tier 2. Tier 1 has already been in effect since last year. And those are the recoveries by food handlers like grocery stores or the wholesale food vendors and the food service providers having a program in place to recover their edible food. But now, starting next year, it's going to also fall on restaurants and cafeterias, school cafeterias, anything like that, local food producers of ready-to-eat foods, and what programs they have in place to recover their edible foods. And so, with that, I would like to ask AJ if he would please play a 1-minute YouTube video that the county has provided to show their enforcement, how some of their enforcement action is going to, what you'll see on our city streets. and there you are. And so that's why we really need to have an education component in place for our residents to know and learn that what these new laws provide or requiring of them. And so, if you remember, a few months ago, I brought a little stainless steel can with me, and it was just a suggestion, but these are things people need to do to prevent from getting those tickets. Okay, thanks, Mayor.
Councilor Allen, I'm going to ask you a question about this contamination, the monitoring, if you don't mind.
Sure, go right ahead.
What do they do about the homeless and all their waste and they have? Are they going to go after them too? Because they're going after the law-abiding people. I'm just wondering what they're going to do with, because that's the big hazardous waste and it's costing the city's money.
Well, what this has to do with is separating the garbage correctly so that biologics do not end up in the landfill. Now, when they go out to a homeless encampment and they clean a homeless encampment, they usually have a team from the county that goes out there, and they probably are going to be separating it out there on site, But there are two ways that they're going to monitor this, and one of them is they're going to have teams of people, like you saw in this video, going through neighborhoods, looking in your trash cans. And then the other way they're going to monitor it is, they'll periodically pull a truck off of a route, and they'll have that truck dump their load. But that doesn't pinpoint the offenders. And so the ones that they're looking for are the ones who are not using their containers for the correct product. As far as the homeless go, I'm not sure that they have any blue, green, or black containers in their encampments to go through. So I
I'm
don't
just
know.
wondering, because it seemed like we got to take care of that biohazard too, so thank you. Councilman Robles?
I don't have anything. I had a meeting with SCAG, and I don't think a lot of you know. So now my knees are going out on me, and so I couldn't sleep. And when I finally got myself to sleep, I forgot I had the meeting. So now Halloween day is when I see the doctor on that, and then I was supposed to have a TENS unit placed in my back for nerve damage pain, and so it's getting kind of interesting there. But I'm trying to be better about not forgetting my meetings after struggling at night. Also, council member, thank you for your report. I was just wondering, because I try to be good and I have my bucket, but I had a few little shavings of carrots, and I thought, oh, I wonder when they're going to start looking at into your waste things. So I think it is important to give a heads up to people who haven't really known about this, because I was watching the news last month, and some cities were doing it, and some people were saying, if I would have known, I would have complied, but they didn't know. So as it goes, I don't have anything. I have a new slate of meetings this coming week, and I'll report on those the next time.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
It's a great example of government overreach, as far as I'm concerned. It's funny, this country grew up in an agricultural basis for a long time, and we seem to be able to figure out how to do things without somebody tipping the lids on our garbage. I'm not in favor of it. I think it's a mistake. But the current administration supports it at the state level, and that's what's going to happen. And until we make a change, that's not going to change. Did attend the Starbucks grand opening with 3 other council members, and was thrilled to see them take a second pass at us. So let's just hope that things continue business-wise, and overall, it appears as if our tax base and so on is improving, and that's always a good thing. I've got a few things that will be coming up, and I appreciate the fact that over a period of time I've recovered from the operation I had, and I'm basically in pretty decent shape, and that's a good thing. So that's all I've got, Mayor.
Well, thank you. I think the council members are all falling apart here. So, yeah, the Starbucks grand opening was great. And of course, one of the questions was, why don't we have a sit-down area? And, you know, when we had a sit-down area, the question was, why don't we have a drive-through area? So I don't know. It just, so, but they were happy. They were very nice there, and we got to see how the ins and out work. I can never work there because I forget how to make that coffee. I just couldn't do it. And then went to the middle school for the Red Ribbon kickoff thing, and with the fire department and the sheriff's department. It was a great thing, and all these kids wanted to take my picture, and then somebody said, you look like that old guy on Yellowstone. I'm like, what? Yeah, the guy is the governor. I'm like, ooh, I thought they were talking about the old guy in the bunkhouse, but, you know, I was like, okay. But it was great. You know, the kids were fun. They were fun. And they were just happy, and I was taking goofy pictures with them. So I don't know what's on Facebook or what's on anywhere. But it was a great time, great group of kids, and the teachers and the staff is good. And then, of course, the sheriff and the fire department, you know, they were arguing which sticker badge was better. So I don't know whose truck got tagged or car got tagged with the stickers. So, but it was great. Then I got to go to the ladies' tea, and I got to meet the city manager and Don Larkin there. So, and I was there. So it was 3 guys at the ladies' Colton Women's Club tea. It was celebrating their 115 years of service.
Grand Terrace.
Yeah, well, they had it at Colton, but it was a Grand Terrace one. But yes, thank you. Actually, they had multiple ones. They had San Bernardino there. They had everybody there. Yeah. So, but then I told them a joke. I go, actually, the Grand Terrace Women's Club was started 116 years ago by all the men to get their wives out of the house, and they didn't like that joke. But I was like, but it was great. They had great finger foods and tea, and it was, you know, just pleasant to see the women. They had the, you know, the harp playing, but it's, you know, the Grand Terrace Women's Club do a lot of things for our city here, and I know one of their big events is coming up when they do the sugar cookies. And a lot of the kids like that at the Christmas lighting thing. So, you know, God bless them, and, you know, just keep them going, and, you know, for all the volunteer work that the Women's Club did. And then the chamber mixer, I'm telling you, Ken Henderson walked away with every gift. He won every raffle, and I think I won some Q-tips, but he got everything. Yeah. No, I bought my tickets first. I was like, I think he took my tickets out. But, yeah. But it was great seeing, I think, Get Loaded. They did sponsor. They're 8 years now in business. And it was nice seeing everybody for the mixture. So, you know, the chamber's, you know, starting again. It's going strong. And I think they'll be on the right path as long as they don't go political and they just, you know, take care of the businesses in the city. And then I got to walk back from Toyota San Bernardino because I didn't get a ride back, and I figured I'd walk anyway. But on my walk, I got to see the road erosion on Barton Road. And you couldn't see it driving. You had to walk. So it's pretty bad, that bike lane. So I want to thank the city staff for getting on that and putting the cones out there to make sure people were safe, and then, you know, looking at to get that fixed. And I don't think the city manager wants me walking around anymore because that's like the 3rd sinkhole I found or something. So, but, you know, all the rain, it came back, and some stuff gets clogged up in the gutters and comes back and haunts you. And, but that's all I have right now. So, thank you. And thank you again, John, for coming out for the presentation. And, oh, one other thing is the Cars and Coffee. We did recognize Sam and Stephanie for the fire trucks, so we made them honorary. The city got them red shirts, so when you see them driving the fire trucks, you'll see them wearing the little red shirts and carrying Santa Claus and stuff. So they won't be putting out any fires. They'll just be driving the fire truck. Deborah, you look confused. Mm-hmm. The Cars and Coffee, the shirts that I had since August, the people finally came, and me and Ken Henderson was able to present them. Now, city manager communication.
Yeah, First, yeah, we're buying you a car to keep you off from wandering the streets. Actually, I wanted to thank the citizens for putting up with the playgrounds being closed as we resurface them. That work is done, and they're opening up. It really turned out well, and it was a great project, but thank you for putting up with that inconvenience. And then a reminder that on Halloween, the 31st, 5 p.m., at the Walgreens parking lot, the trunk or treat, the candy, some events, food trucks. Last year was pretty good. This year will be that much better, and we're looking forward to seeing a large turnout there. We'll have the sheriff's and the fire department there as well. And I believe Lieutenant Lane has a comment he'd like to make.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, one quick thing. But first, I'd like to make a motion if I could. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to make a motion that blankets and hot chocolate are available at the front for anybody that wants to come to sit in a meeting. But no, I just wanted to remind everybody that this weekend at the National Orange Show, they're having their annual Halloween EDM festival. This is one of those festivals that generally irritates people here in the city, especially those living on the north side, is that sound from that facility creeps up into the city here. So I will be posting this on social media that will go out through our Facebook page, and anybody on 92313 will see that. But I'm also going to ask the city clerk to put that up on the website. So that information will be there for anybody that wants to see it. There is a number that will be included, which is a complaint hotline, that we will be able to track the locations of those complaints, and then I generally afterwards generate a heat map of where all those complaints come in, and then send it to the production teams at that event so they can see how their music is navigating its way into the city here. And I think over the years we've seen a little bit of progress. Just in the overall number of complaints that have decreased from the last couple shows. So I think they're trying their best to work with us a little bit, but a lot of it is also based on environmental factors. So the weather might be ripe this weekend for some issues. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. And that's all I had.
Thank you. City Manager, the trunk or treat, that's October 31st. Did you already mention that?
Yes, 31st Walgreens parking lot, 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
What was the time again?
5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Mr. Mayor, if I might.
Yes.
The council received a report from the city manager regarding revenues to the city, and I think the entire community needs to be made aware that Grand Terrace was one of 2 communities in San Bernardino County to actually have an increase in property and sales tax. And I can't tell you how significant that is for a community of our size and for our budget planning going forward. I want to commend the staff, the city manager and staff. When I was a public employee, I used to tell my staff, economic development is everyone's job, from the front office receptionist all the way up to the city manager. And that's an approach that I believe that we've adopted with enthusiasm here in the city. And I want to congratulate the staff and thank the community for buying local and doing that on a consistent basis, enabling Grand Terrace to prosper where other communities have not in the current economic climate. We don't know whether or not that's going to continue, but for the moment, congratulations are in order, and we thank you for your service to the city and for staying local. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. So closed session, none. And once again, before we adjourn, we're in closing memory of Grand Terrace longtime resident Geraldine Barnett. You know, and like I said, our prayers are with the family and comfort during this time. And the city will be sending you a little presentation. But, you know, thank you for coming out tonight, and, you know, God bless you guys. So the next regular city council meeting will be held Tuesday, November 14, 2023 at 6 p.m. Any request to have an item placed on a future agenda must be made in writing and submitted to the city clerk. Meeting adjourned. God bless. Have a good weekend.